The adoption into the Orange family was just a ruse, a way to lull Philly Applejack into complacency, make her vulnerable to kidnapping. The Manhattan weather control spires outpoured a dark storm in the evening, perfect cover for President Advisor of Information Control Photo Finish and her cronies to chase and surround the orange filly in the dead end of a dark alley. The blue mare stepped out of her car, styled in a government uniform too fabulous that it was allowed and glasses too stylishly tinted than necessary. Likewise, her cronies were dressed in fashionably colorful uniforms, and each of them was allowed to have their own hairstyles that were currently protected from the rain by the huge umbrellas carried by the mare servants. At the President Advisor's silent call, 2 stallions escorts leapt out and tackled Philly Applejack into the wet asphalt. With Applejack held down, Photo Finish reached over to sweat away the blue scarf that Applejack used to cover her golden necklace. Applejack saw the grin on the President Advisor widen upon the artifact's revelation. This was a mare who she saw to be a kooky aunt, a pony she thought she could trust. The filly should have known better. This was Manhattan. It was every pony for herself. But Applejack was too small, too weak. She was going to fail her family and her nature's call. The golden necklace answered her prayers. It ejected from her neck and pushed out an orange barrier that threw back Finish and her goons. The barrier shielded the filly from the rain and bathed her in a warm glow.
Thy call hath been heeded.
A voice resonated.
Thou art the voice who seeks the truth, and the sword will cut down all falsehoods. Receive thy power, bearer of the element of truth, and shine the light of destruction upon all ignorance.
The element of truth has awakened, Photo Finish cried. In a mad dash she jumped into the barrier and attempted to grab the floating necklace. The element resisted her, sending out high voltage shocks that would kill any normal pony. And yet Photo Finish continued holding on to it as every hair on her body, coat and mane stood up. The element resisted even further, and then decided to fight back. It then beamed an orange light from its jewel into her eyes for several minutes, causing Photo Finish to scream and then foam in her mouth. She finally let go and passed out. The necklace transformed, and before Applejack floated a katana with an apple-shaped guard between the blade and the handle. Applejack leapt up and grabbed the katana with her teeth. It was a fair-sized weapon, too big for the filly, yet to Applejack it was as light as a feather. Here in the rain, Photo Finish's cronies drew their daggers and closed in. The element answered her wish. The katana was all Applejack needed, and without worry or regret, she leapt into the fray for the fight of her life. "The oranges were silly little ponies," said Photo Finish. "Too bad I didn't arrest them when they fled the country. But it doesn't matter anyway, because I have seen and proclaimed the truth." Did she have to strike that pose every time she ended her sentences? She was like one of those mindless zealots at the propaganda rallies. But Photo Finish wasn't saluting Posey. Behind her, Twilight Sparkle's very own destiny glyph had been painted on a white bedsheet as a makeshift flag. Then, without shame, Photo Finish and the rest of his stylish group pulled their pants to reveal the same glyph branded over their existing nature's call. Not for Photo Finish, though. As a matter of fact, her nature's call was almost exactly like Twilight's, but with a film camera drawn on top of it. So far, Golden Harvest hadn't pulled down her pants. At least she hadn't branded herself, but she might as well be. And the truth is that they and their ilk will be cleansed by the hellfires of Twilight the Redeemer, Twilight the Destroyer, Twilight our Goddess. And she has sent to us Prophet Applejack, who shall deliver unto us the message from our Messiah. Hail Twilight! Mimicking Photo Finish's pose, the 3 fashionable cronies chanted, "Hail, hail," repeatedly. "Prophet Applejack," cried Photo Finish, "you must forgive us for bringing you here in such a rough manner. We cannot risk introducing ourselves to you due to our misunderstood incident at Manhattan. I was blinded by the false prophet Posey into following her orders to obtain the power of creation. We shall let bygones be bygones. What news do you bring from Twilight the Redeemer?" "You crazy cultists," said Applejack. "I ain't got news for your kind. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you one lick of gossip. But I have seen you. You were with the Messiah at the station. I have heard that you attacked the labs and the home of the false prophet. The reason I ain't telling you anything is because Violet is dead. You lie. Why would I? I'm the bearer of the element of truth, and look at me. No element here. I have seen the visions. The vision of our Messiah descending from the sky on top of a colossus to remake the world according to her design. Her destruction shall be swift, and for anybody to be redeemed, we must repent and cleanse the world of sin before her arrival. That ain't gonna happen. Twilight's gone. Cannot be. Yes, you've been poisoned, brainwashed by the corrupt who run this blasted prison and the sinful nation of ours. Girls, we must cleanse her soul with our holy tools. Photo finishes 3 fashionable cronies drew out prison-made shifts and surrounded the rebel mare. Initially, she stood ready to take them on. These were easy pickings. Then she realized, why bother? She would then defeat them and remain trapped in this prison until the day she would die. Go ahead. I don't care anymore. With shifts gripped between their hooves, Photo finishes cronies readied their step. Just then, the entrance of the laundry room burst open, and whoever came in would not have the time to call for help or come to Applejack's rescue. However, it wasn't just a pony that came in. The audible rumble of a large laundry cart squeaked closer with each passing second. A voice inside Applejack told her to jump out of the way, and she did. The 3 cronies, distracted by the sudden surprise, were knocked out like bowling pins by the runaway cart that then tripped and toppled over on its front axle to spill piles upon piles of soiled linen and towels onto a screaming Photo finish and Golden Harvest. Harvest managed to escape and sneak out shortly after, and Applejack decided to give her no chase. She was still miffed at her betrayal. Sure, she might have been strong-armed, but the Harvest Applejack knew years ago would never stoop to give in to the interrogation of soldiers and the police. Now she was just a shell of her former self. Gangway! The pony in question ran in, running on her hind legs, but eventually slid to a halt on all fours in front of Applejack. Hiya, AJ! Pinky greeted. What the hell are you doing here? I got arrested again. For what? I tried getting a job at this one bake shop called Cupcake Square, but I was blamed for burning it down. Somehow, I have a feeling you did that on purpose. The shop burning or the runaway laundry cart? Let me tell you, sister, those were accidents. Accidents. Whatever, Applejack winced. Let's mosey out of here before we get caught. About that. Quake, the flower guards and several other guards had surrounded Applejack and Pinkie Pie in the laundry room, preventing their escape. But there was another pony, a bespectacled grey stallion in a lab coat among them. That's her, said the stallion, pointing at Applejack. 2 unknown guards mares punched the orange pony in the gut before dragging her away from Pinkie Pie, who was being dragged towards the opposite direction by Quake and the flower guards. Where the hell are you taking me? The grey stallion followed Applejack as she was dragged all the way to the central annex, and then eventually into a large interrogation room so dimly lit that she could not see the back wall. The guards mares pushed her into a bolted chair behind a table, and her hind legs were shackled down to prevent any aggressive movement or escape. Aside from the scientist stallion, there standing at the corners behind him was a green mare in a lab coat and Warden Bonbon. The stallion opened the box that was on the table and jingled the item he held in his hoof for a moment. After a brief inspection of the item, he then threw it across the table for the orange mare to see. There it was before her eyes, her element of truth. Put it on, he said. Why should I? One of the guards mares dealt a blow to Applejack's face with a hard hoof. I only demand for you to do one thing, said the stallion. Put it on. Applejack spat out the blood made from the blow and grudgingly complied. She reached over, saw that the jewel in her element of truth had turned grey, reminding her of her foolishness back at the Palace of the Earth. She held her tears back and placed her family heirloom on her neck. Nothing happened. Now, what do y'all have in plan right now? She asked. We wait, replied the grey stallion. He motioned to the green mare in the lab coat, where she moved over to a portable computer situated at a corner table. The device was connected to several technological sensors. Applejack had no idea of what the functions were. As they whirred and glowed, the mare observed on the portable computer whatever readings blipping before her face. Time passed. The rebel mare sweat in silence as her eyes sniffed around the room for any clue as to the reasons for this interrogation and for a way out, should she feel like it. The stallion professor sat on his haunches the whole time, and the only movement he made were the blinking of his eyes and the incessant tapping of his hoof. Halfway through, Warden Bonbon tipped hoof to the green mare and conversed in very low whispers with her. Judging from their smiles, those two seemed chummy. The stallion professor cleared his throat, and Bonbon tipped hoof back to her corner. She might have heard her giggling. "No readings," replied the green mare after more time had passed. "Rebel Applejack," said the professor, "care to tell me why your family has been in possession of such a dangerous magical artifact for almost 1,000 years? Applejack refused to answer. "Your necklace, the element of truth. I heard from the stark raving mad mare that it has the ability to reveal the truth before a pony's eyes. And it also has the ability to see into the future. What have you seen so far?" Still she wouldn't answer. "Your element of truth has the ability to transform into a sword. How is it activated?" No answer. With a nod he ordered the guard's mare to hold down Applejack's arms as he trotted over to ring the golden necklace of her neck. "You sure this is the element of truth, Professor Heartstrings?" he asked. "There's no doubt, Professor Brond," replied the green mare in the lab coat. "Unfortunately, it appears to be in inert state. I ran through all manners of scans, and I cannot detect any kind of energy signatures." "You are fortunate to be alive, Rebel Applejack," said Professor Bond. "After the damage you caused to Tartarus 01, I would have had you put to death before you even came here. But we need you alive, and if you wish to lessen the severity of your sentence, I'd advise you to volunteer any information in the secret of your element of truth. In the meantime, enjoy your accommodations here, Apple." Bond locked the element of truth back into the box and walked right off the interrogation room with Heartstrings, who had put away her portable computer along with the suspicious sensor instruments in her saddlebags. Applejack was finally let go and then escorted back to her cell, where somehow the lights had been put out. The guard's mare left after pushing Applejack into the darkness. Seconds later, the lights exploded on and nearly blinded Applejack. The tip of a pink hoof matched play on the boombox, and Pinky somersaulted off the toilet with Gummy following after her. "Pinky is back, baby!" The pink pony took a deep breath, preparing to burst into a new song. Before she could do so, the cassette deck popped open and spat out most of the magnetic tape it refused to play. "Looks I have to get a new one," said Pinky. She went back to her toilet and somehow, beyond all logic and sanitation, she fished out a Saran Wrap slim boombox out of the bowl. "I better let it dry, just in case." "Thanks. You still haven't answered the question why you're back here," said Applejack. "Didn't I tell you? They blamed me for accidentally burning down the bakery shop. Something about assisting in insurance fraud or something. I don't care about that. You may be born here, but there has to be another reason you're here." Come to think of it, there is. I realized that when I left you were still heartbroken over your Twilight, and I can't leave you hanging like this. What are friends for?" Applejack couldn't decide if she should feel angry or smile, but she turned around so that her cellmate would not have seen any expression on her face. In some ways, she was glad that she wasn't alone in this pit of hell. And the next morning, she ran into familiar faces at the cafeteria. Even with bruises, the Twilight cult still managed to remain stylish in their prison garb. This time, however, there was no photo finish leading them. "Hey, it's Pretty Vision, Folio and Stella!" Pinky cried, "And here's Carrot Top!" No pony spoke up. "Hey, there should be some pony that should deliver the straight mare punchline," complained Pinky. "Otherwise the joke falls flat." "Rebel Applejack," said Vision. "Photo finish hasn't returned to her cell last night." "And how's that my problem?" asked Applejack. "What did you sell her out for?" "I didn't sell her out." "Ladies," cried Guardsmere Rose, "take your seats and eat." The Twilight cultists and Harvest left to take their seats at the far corner, while Applejack and Pinkie Pie sat at their usual spot with Lucy and Quirky. "So, did you really sell her out?" Lucy asked. "Photo finish may be crazier than a wall-eyed Pegasus, but I never read out any pony," said Applejack. "There are sure more guards here than ever before. Word has it that there are 2 president advisors coming to pay us a visit. You know what that means." "Party time!" Pinkie leapt up. All the prisoners and the guards shushed her, and the pink pony gently floated back down to her seat, literally like a feather. Applejack had to do a double take to make sure she wasn't seeing things. "It means that there will be a lot less work today," said Quirky. "Applejack, can you swing a bat?" "I can swing a sword, if that's what you're asking," replied Applejack. Close enough. Welcome to the team, Rebel Better AJ." "Huh?" The whistle had been blown, and all the prison mares were corralled out of the cafeteria and into the lockers to change into their mining overalls. Today seemed a little brighter today, and it wasn't because Pinkie was back. Applejack overheard every mare talking about that today was half-work day and that they needed to place bets for the upcoming game. What game? During the speedy ride down into the mines, Quirky explained that once in a while all the prisoners were allowed to have half a day for recreational activities out in the outdoor fields. Certain shifts had to do work in the morning, like the one Applejack was grouped into, and have their breaks in the afternoon, while others it was the opposite. Still, every mare looked forward to this kind of time, and they had to grasp what little happiness could be found in this prison. The work in the mines came and went, and supposedly the visiting president advisors had already taken a look at the operations at another area. Either that, or Applejack hadn't noticed them passing by with a certain blonde stallion leering at the mares. At the end of the shift, the guards announced that due to maintenance on one of the main rails, they would have to return to their cells on a line that ran alongside the ones carrying the stallion prisoners. Almost all of the prison mares let out a universal cheer that they would ride in the tunnels of love. Immediately they applied makeup they pulled from their hidden pockets and helped groom each other's manes and tails. Even some of the guard mares prettied themselves up as discreetly as possible. Applejack rejected Pinkie Pie's offer to groom her. She was not in the mood to attract a imprisoned stallion, innocent or not. Before they could return back to the prison, every mare in Applejack's crew had to trek the long and narrow walkways to another train of minecarts. Once they boarded, each mare almost had their breaths in tense anticipation. Applejack couldn't see anything from the left and to the right, just rocks. Then, all of a sudden, the rock walls on her right opened up, and she saw the other rail and the other minecarts filled with stallion prisoners. Most of them were ugly, but that didn't stop the mares from whistling, hooting, and dancing with their flanks turned towards them. The stallion prisoners did the same, and a few of them tried to throw gifts toward the mares, but all were unsuccessful. The minecarts were too fast for anything to pass between them. Then, one stallion caught Applejack's eye. He was obscured by a caramel-colored one, but before she could recognize his face, parallel mine rails had split off, thus ending the prison mare's stud show. Yet the image of that red stallion burned into her mind. It wasn't love at first sight, not by a long shot, and where she thought all hope was lost, she felt it slowly rising back up. As they returned to their lockers, the prison mares giggled and spoke about the stallions with flirtatious speech. Applejack did not want to ask one of them if they knew any of their names, or at least the mellow red one, who did not participate in the whistling and the hollering. Since security was tight and no mare would be able to visit the other side, and vice versa, without bribing the guards or digging a secret tunnel, they might be able to sneak a note or a photo between the prison wings. If any pony was able to gather information about the entire prison, then Applejack knew whom to ask. "Pinks," said Applejack, "how much do you know about the stallions at the other side?" "I know all of them." "I thought you said you never been to the other side." "Who do you think I am? I'm Pinkie D. Pie, information gatherer extraordinaire. I've been the go-to gal and matchmaker for pretty much every pony here. Is there some pony you're interested in, AJ? There is a red stallion. There are several. There's Redmond, Burnbottom, and my personal favorite, El Diablo, to name a few. Most of them are already taken, unfortunately. Is there one with orange mane, green eyes, and a green apple for a nature's call?" It matches Redman's description, but I'm not sure that's its nature's call. Are you sure that's his name? I don't know. Redman doesn't like to talk with the other stallions from what I heard. So much for being info-gatherer extraordinaire. Are you girls still talking about pony meat? Quirky asked. She had to jump onto the bench and stood on her hind legs in a quasi-threatening manner. The barely suppressed smile across her face indicated that something exciting was going to happen. You're not saying that because you broke up with that one stallion, smirked Lucy. He misled me. The photo I received shattered my ideal image of him. But that's not important. Due to the recent cell changes and releases, I'm going to have to form a new Beanballers team on the spot. Pinky, Lucy and Applejack, you're my star players. Quirky, you didn't tell me what game we're playing, said Applejack. Gaia's favorite pastime. There was no stopping her. Pinky stuck to Quirky's side as an assistant captain of sorts, jotting down random gameplays on a roll of toilet paper, only to lose the toilet paper when Pinkie Pie went to the bathroom. That was a minor setback, despite Quirky's loud sigh. She assured every pony she drafted onto her team that she memorized all the plays. It was no use suggesting to her any other activity out on the fenced dirt fields, but no mare was going to protest or dare to. Applejack really wanted to get more information from Pinky on how to come in contact with Redman, the stallion whom she had a feeling might be family. For now, she would have to play along and get on to her cellmate's good side, but it seemed that she only had one side. Outside between the towering walls and the mare's prison wing erected a baseball diamond, 2 dugouts and bleachers segregated for both prisoners and staff. The stands were filled, bets had been placed, and the normally morose Mrs. Cake helped sell cups of popcorn and government-grade soda to the non-participants. Quirky's Beanballers challenged their mortal enemy, the Bunters, in a never-ending battle between good offense and good defense, inspiration and intimidation, and pure skill and pure bribery. The Beanballers lost the coin toss. To their leg they played defense for the first inning. Their star pitcher Quirky began the first pitch using the very baseball Pinky gave to her for her birthday. As the innings passed, Applejack gained a little more appreciation for the game as she watched her teammates play. Most of them were competent, and Pinky, well, she had her unique style. She seemed to be the best shortstop in the world, and somehow the best outfielder as well. Where the ball went, there she was catching it at seemingly unreachable heights over the fence. Her running during team offense was hit or miss. Pink's agility often confused the opposing team trying to take her out, but half the time her silliness worked against her. Thus, she had inadvertently caused the loss of a few innings. When Applejack came to bat, she had the options of standing on her hind legs to swing it with her front hooves, or to stand on all fours to use her mouth and neck. She chose the latter, and she surprised herself in all that she made a home run on the first try. Granted, she had been swinging a magical katana for several years, though the skill transferred over-handedly. Curious about the sport spectacle, the guests from the government, President Advisor Ace the Younger, and Teddy sat in the well-crafted skybox with Warden Bonbon and the 2 pony scientists from earlier. Applejack had hoped Ace and Teddy would not recognize her without her Stetson hat, but would it matter anyway? Those 2 were Posey's personal, and they would have already been aware of Applejack's incarceration. So far, they showed no interest to her, although, as usual, Ace, according to his libidinous and flirtatious nature, whistled at every pretty mare who came up to bat. At the last inning, the Beanballers had lost yet again to the Bunters, but they had surprised every pony in that they only lost by 1 point. This was such a significant improvement from their previous games that instead of walking away in humbly, the Beanballers instead celebrated by throwing Deck and Quirky up and down the air. The purple pony was so happy that it almost drove her to tears, and Applejack nearly shared her sentiment. Eventually, the spectators and the rival team began dispersing back to the building. Quirky finally landed back on her hooves and accidentally dropped her baseball. She followed her gift, but then stopped when the large hoof stopped the ball's roll. Quirky looked up to see Quake with the 3 flower guards staring down on her. Prisoner 0228, Quirky Screw, Quake began. I believe we have failed to thoroughly inspect this baseball you received from prisoner 0606 several days ago. It's just an ordinary baseball, ma'am, said Quirky. The only reason I tolerate Pinky's concert smuggling is because none of what she had brought inside these walls have yet to negatively impact our operation. Now that we have an apple here, I cannot risk anything, especially when we have important visitors here. Quake completely flattened Quirky's baseball and then sifted the remains with a hoof. Every pony knew that there was nothing smuggled inside, and even if there was, the guards could have taken it to an X-ray scanner. What the lieutenant did just now was to make a statement, a painful and a serious one. You were lucky, Miss Gru, said Quake. You would have been severely punished for failure to report smuggled contraband items and the possession of them. Quake and the flower guards turned away, leaving Quirky to fall flat onto her stomach and gather the remains of a baseball with her hooves. She looked ready to cry, and her friends gathered around to console her. It's okay, Quirky, said Pinky. I can get you another ball. I always have balls stashed everywhere in case of emergencies. I know, Pinky, said Quirky. I know you can, but this has gone too far. Quirky rose and leapt to throw a punch at the back of Quake's head. This was not a wise move against a burly mare who, like the prisoners themselves, was molded by the prison's oppressive structure for several years. Her bulk belies her true speed, and even slimmer mares could not react with the same precognitive sense as Quake. With just one spin and one hoof, Quake slammed the purple elf pony to the ground by the neck. Applejack, Pinkie Pie and Lucy could not get to Quirky in time. The flower guards and the rest of the guards' mares took aim and shouted to every prisoner to stay back. Right as they secured the fields, the guards dispersed and Quirky was nowhere to be found. She was gone, just like that, along with that heartless Lieutenant Ward. She's going to be fine, right? Asked Applejack. I mean, Gaia doesn't need labor for the mines. I don't know, replied Lucy. This is the first baseball game Quirky had played for in a while where she almost won. But attacking the Lieutenant Warden like that? It's all mean Quake's fault, Pinky cried. Why does she have to be mean to all the ponies I make friends with? It's just... She don't look that tough to me, said Applejack. Pinky fell unusual silent. Did I say something wrong? You didn't, said Lucy. Ever since Lieutenant Quake came here, she's been ruling the mare's ward, if not the entire prison with an iron hoof. There's always going to be ponies like Pinky, who will always have a happy outlook in life, and there's Quake, who loves to make ponies miserable. Quake's perfect for that job. So, Warden Bonbon just allows her to do what she wants? The warden's just a figurehead. A fall mare when things go wrong in Rock Prison. Because of your escape years ago, the previous warden vanished out of thin air. There are even ponies who say that he never existed here. So it wasn't the head warden Applejack needed to look out for. Quake was almost as big as most stallions. She took down Quirky with barely a sweat. Even if she were to take down Quake by herself, Applejack would still have to contend with the guards, who were obviously better fed and fit than the present laborers. Then there was the escape she had to plan in her head. Pinks, she said, you gonna be all right? I think so, sniffed Pinky. Don't worry about me. I'm going to throw a pardon when they release Quirky from solitary confinement. It will be a blast. I look forward to it. Say, I know this might be a bad time, but there is something I want you to do for me. Sure, Auntie Pinkie Pie can get you anything. What do you need? About that stallion, Redmond.